We're now live on YouTube.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this special meeting of the Development Committee. Just to say that we have no members of the public here, but just to tell the members, to remind our members that if you have a mobile phone, turn it off or put it to mute. Andrew. Nigel. Yes, it was. I'll ask the officers to introduce themselves. We do know, just a bit of housekeeping, just to remind you also that if the alarms go off, the fire alarm, please exit swiftly, don't run and don't use the lift. Now, I'm going to ask the officers to introduce themselves. To the left.
Good morning, I'm Jeff Lyon, I'm the Development Manager.
Good morning, I'm Alice Walker, I'm Planning Officer.
Good morning, Lauren Gregory, Democratic Services Officer.
Yeah, I'm Russell Stock, I'm a team leader in the Development Management team.
I'm Fiona Croxton, Solicitor to the Council.
Russell.
Good morning, I'm Russell Tanner. I'm the Asset Manager for North Norfolk District Council.
Thank you. And I'd also like to say welcome to Mr. Williams, who's our new Senior Planning Officer, who's joining us to see how we behave ourselves here today. So welcome, Mr. Williams. Now, we'll go straight, I think, to the agenda. There's no more chairman's introductions. I will just say if we do go up to 11 o'clock, etc., then we will have a small break for refreshments, etc. Receiving apologies for absence, Lauren.
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Richard Kershaw.
And substitutes.
Councillor Harry Blathwaite is present as a substitute.
Thank you, Harry. And I see that the minutes will be presented at the next meeting, the 26th of January minutes. I don't think there are any items of urgent business.
There are none.
Right. Order of business will stand as it's printed here. Any declarations of interest here? We all know Chroma Pier. Any specific declarations of interest? No. Right, thank you. So we'll go straight to the officers' reports now. Officer Walker, Alice is going to present both of just one presentation, which will cover both of these agenda items. The first item, LA/22/2413, is because this is within the conservation area, so it has to be separately considered. And then the main application is PF 222332, which on page 11 gives you the breakdown of what is intended to happen to the cafe, etc., and the theatre. So Alice, if you'd like to give your presentation, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everybody. As the Chairman said, the following presentation encompasses both items 8 and 9 respectively, in order to avoid repetition, as whilst they're separate reports in terms of their listed and planning nature, they concern the same site. So applications LA/22/2413 and PF 22/2332 are for works at the Pavilion Theatre in Cromer for the renovation of the existing cafe and bar, the upgrading of toilet facilities, including the accessible toilets, and alterations of other rooms such as the office, storeroom, to help improve the operational overall operation of the theatre. The site location plan shows the Pavilion Theatre, which is located at the end of Cromer Pier before the lifeboat station, and both the pier and the pavilion are Grade 2 listed. The scheme proposes to enclose the recess areas under the eaves on the east and west elevations, which are currently used for external bench seating, increasing the internal floor space in order to accommodate internal alterations, which include the upgrading and increased provision of toilet facilities, the relocation of accessible toilets close to the auditorium, a larger storeroom close to the bar, and the renovation of the existing cafe, bar, and ice cream shop. The following plans show the external alterations to the east and west elevations. So that's the south elevation and the changes to the south, east and west elevations are visible from there. And this is a proposal for the bar area. The main areas in our consideration are the design, heritage and amenity impacts. Both North Norfolk District Council Conservation and Design Officers and National Advisory Body, the Theatres Trust, provided comments on the works. Overall, it was considered that the alterations represented a reasonable compromise between the conservation and adaptation of the asset to ensure the future viability of the theatre. Officers were of the opinion that whilst the reduced overhang and loss of bench seating under the eaves line is unfortunate, the alteration has to be balanced against the required operational improvements of the theatre, and the works are seen as an important part of securing the future viability of the Grade 2 listed building as a whole. In terms of amenity, policy EN5 requires that within areas designated as public realm, proposals are expected to enhance the overall appearance and usability of an area. The proposed alterations and improvements, including the provision of toilets and other facilities, are considered to have both public and operational benefits, increasing the theatre's usability and enhancing public amenity. The removal of the existing bench seating has been weighed against the overall benefits of the development as outlined above. And whilst it cannot be taken into consideration under this application, the intention is that replacement bench seating will be located on the pier to maintain the provision. Therefore, on balance, it's considered that whilst the proposal would result in a modest amount of harm to the heritage asset, this is heavily outweighed by the public benefits accruing from the proposals and ensuring the future vitality of the pier and theatre. The overall assessment and balance planning conclusion is that the scheme is acceptable and we would recommend approval subject to conditions. That concludes my presentation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Alice. I will ask Russell Tanner if he would now tell us about the alterations to the exterior of the building, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I will. I would just ask if you wish to ask me any questions, if you could use your microphone, because I do have a bit of a hearing problem from this time. So yeah, as you can see there from the plans, the alterations internally to the existing public convenience provision there will actually provide a much improved ladies WC with 2 additional cubicles in there. And also by moving the accessible toilet to the right hand side, that's the east, as you look into the bar, that is actually where the accessible route into the theatre is. So it kind of didn't make sense before to have it on the other side, because it's a bit of a struggle, particularly at half time there, to get across that area and back. So we've been able to make a much improved facility on that side. Say 2 additional ladies cubicles there, and we've now got baby change in all the areas. And as you can see, to enable the accessible WC on the right hand side, we've had to push the sides out slightly. Now this has meant the internal dimensions have increased by 625 mil, but the actual appearance on the outside is not altered dramatically. The benches have been temporarily removed and they will be going back once the works are completed. And the benches are, we're talking about the mahogany ones that you're all used to seeing there. They're actually 600 mil deep, and they'll still have we think somewhere between 400 and 500 mil overhang for protection there. So there was never an intention to do away with the benches at all. We've had to remove them. The benches are still on the pier. We've just relocated them and they will be put back where they were originally. But overall, we've significant improvements inside there for insulation levels to improve the EPC rating of the pier, which was pretty grim. New LED lighting. We've got some water saving systems there now in the new WC. And I think it was last done in 2002, the toilet area. So it's pretty poor. There were some major issues with the flooring in the ladies and the gents, where those of you that have been in there frequently remember the flooring was very spongy and moving. So in conjunction with the major substructure works, which we're doing at the moment under the pier, we've had to put some new steels underneath there, take the floors out and redo the timber flooring completely there. With insulation levels in there now, we use like a plastic baffle system there, which gives us more protection. We've also had to design a new substructure drainage system included in these works as well, because we've had some major problems underneath there. I don't know if any of you are familiar the way that it works, but there's holding tanks underneath the pier which collect the nasty stuff and pump it down there. We've had some major issues with that system. It's very old. We've been out there weekends rodding it through and all sorts, but we've got a new pressurized drainage system going underneath now as part of these works. All of this with some repairs to the external lantern as well, which you can see there, which has been letting in water for a long time now. Is incredibly tight timescale of 6 weeks to deliver this from the 3rd of January, because they're obviously open wide, only have a very short window. So we've got the 6 weeks works inside the pier, and we've got about 10 months of works underneath the pier. So there's been a lot going on there, but I say the seating is was always intended to put that back, and we will still be some level of protection there. We think somewhere between 400 and 500 mil undercover.
Thank you, Russell. That's very, very clear. Now we'll go to carry through with the procedure. We have no parish, town, council representatives. We have no objecting speakers, no supporting speakers, no local member is Tim Adams, but he said he didn't have anything that he wished to add to the presentation. So I now open it up to members. Who would like to speak? Yes, Angie. Can I just, the pen's not, Angie, John and Nigel. My brain's going, you know, the names. Angie.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I am very relieved, pardon the pun, that this is actually happening, because I think we all know, those of us that use the pier frequently, which I'm very pleased to say I do, that particularly when there's a show on in the auditorium, the ladies lose, the queue almost reaches Cromer town. So the more facilities we can have there, the better. I'm glad to see that the benches will be replaced, because I think that's important. You always see people sitting on there.
You do?
And particularly, I mean, there's some sea anglers that use them as well. So that's
And the
good
crabbers,
news.
and the crabbers.
Oh, and yes, all right, okay. I'm not 100% convinced that hauling poor little crabs out to the sea
Well,
for
no,
ages
that's true.
is a good plan, but I know it's a good tourist attraction. So I am more than happy to propose
Thank
that
you, Angie.
we go ahead with this as quickly as we can. As Russell has stated, we have a very, very narrow window with this. So I think you've probably already started, but I perhaps shouldn't say that. But please go ahead and get it done quickly, because it is desperately needed. And we do need investment in our grand old lady.
Thank you, John. John Toy, Councillor Toy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for the presentations this morning as well. Yeah, it's simply that this it is a precious asset. We do need to protect it, but I think this is done in a really sympathetic way. If we look at how it started off as a pier and then it had a bandstand, it needs to develop and evolve. These are really proper and appropriate developments to bring it into the needs of modern society. It's going to I don't want to steal Councillor Lloyd's thunder, but you know, it's the improvement in the EPC rating and the structure are all good things. So I'd be happy to second it. So
Thank you, Councillor Toy. Nigel.
Well, most of the points have been said already, but I've just got one question. I should say I'm in full support of this, as other members who spoke have said. But just one question for Russell. Regarding the EPC, is it possible to put a figure on it? Is it an A, B, C, D, E?
Thank you, Councillor. I can get that information for you. I can take that one and get that back, because we're obviously, we've improved the insulation levels. We put the LED lighting in. There are some other improvements which we're still looking at. So it's very much dynamic project. This is work in progress as we speak. But no, I can take that away and I can get some figures back for you.
No, just for members' interest, Cromer Pier is one of the most energy inefficient assets that we actually have. It's hardly surprising as it sits over the sea.
Absolutely.
And someone who was in one of the performances was telling me that in the changing rooms there, the wind comes straight up through the slats underneath, and
It is very difficult to make a building watertight and airtight when you have holes in it all over the place. It's a simple fact, you know.
No, I get it,
whispers
but-
through there. I mean, but we have put some new energy efficiently electric heating in there because we don't have any fossil fuel heating in there at all. So we've looked at that, and so generally we've taken advantage when we've proposed the extensions to the side. It's lightweight stud partitioning with increased insulation levels. In fact, there wasn't any insulation in anything much in there. And when we put suspended ceilings now in the new toilet areas, we put acoustic panels and Celotex up there as well. So Celotex board to just try and help it keep the place a bit warmer. But you know, I open one door and it rattles like that. So it's a bit disconcerting there. But and you know, this has not been a quick process. As I was explaining, we had to overcome some hurdles with the Marine and Maritime Organisation, wanted a licence there. So we have a licence to work on it and we've got a licence to work under it. And also the Environment Agency wanted a flood risk assessment there as well. So we had to provide that. All that takes time, and we've taken advantage of this. There's a bit of a pigeon problem underneath the pier, which we're getting into the terrace seating area. So we've had some specialists down there to remove that, and then we've now had to take seating out in the theatre, and we've removed something like 15 to 20 kilo bags of pigeon mess, which has gone off to be incinerated somewhere or on someone's back garden or allotment, I don't know. But we've had to do all this work in such a short space of time. But I'll certainly get those figures to you, Nigel.
thank you very much. Thanks to the officers for their reports too.
Thank you. Yeah. I must say that I did have a wry smile when I saw the flood report, you know, and I thought, I mean, really, but anyway, yes, it is in flood zone 2 and 3. So, but there we go. Councillor Withington, Lizzie.
Thank you. I've just got a couple of comments and one question. The movement and the relocation of the inaccessible toilet, because it was fairly inaccessible before, the accessible toilet is going to make a huge difference. As someone who regularly pushes a wheelchair through there, trying to fight your way through and then fight through the queue that are waiting for the ladies. So I'm really pleased to see that, and it will make it a far more accessible facility for our residents. So thank you very much for that. I've also spent a lot of time on that pier when my children were younger as a chaperone on Christmas shows and etc. and have felt the wind coming through the bottom. Have also been was in there when all the holes came up from below in the ladies' toilet through the flooring when we had some quite significant wave disturbance. I'm just wondering, is the work below actually putting a higher level of protection in? Because if we're doing all this wonderful work with insulation on the inside, are we sort of able to provide any other?
Yeah, I could explain that for you, Councillor. The works are to the substructure, and essentially we've got a load of really poorly decayed steels underneath. There are big steel 8 sections, and on top of that is a timber bearer, and on top of the timber bearer is the timber decking. So we need to take all that out and replace that. But we are taking advantage of we're stopping up any holes that are underneath there, because the theatre, if you can look at the pier, you can break the pier down into sections we call the root end of the pier. That's where it plugs into the promenade. Then we have the neck, which is the bit up the middle. Then we have the head. Well, the head of the pier, where the theatre is, has always been the most difficult piece to get at. Now, I've been working on the pier for about 12 years now, and I regularly go underneath it on the ropes, and it's really difficult to get to that section. So as we progressed along the pier, we've got to that bit now. So we're taking advantage of, while we've got some scaffolding underneath there, to actually fill up some of the holes that are there, replacing the rotten timbers from underneath
Yeah.
as well. Because to do that would mean taking a major piece of surgery inside the theatre, taking all the seats out and all the carpet out. And that's really for another day and another budget. But we are filling up, stopping up the gaps underneath. So hopefully it won't whistle through the theatre too much.
Thank you.
We'll do what we can.
And my final comment is that, you know, I appreciate you've got a really short timescale, but actually having seen what you've done in the little theatre and the timescale that you had for that, I've every confidence that your team and contractors will do a brilliant job. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Any other comments from members? I'll ask, have you anything to say, Jeff? No, Alice, anything to add? No. So we can actually go to a vote, and I want to thank Russell for an extremely interesting talk about the theatre, because I knew some of it, but it just explains what's going on. And there was a feeling that, oh gosh, we're going to lose all those seats, etc., which are they're really necessary for the theatre, because in the summer when it's stinking hot, well, on the odd occasion when it's stinking hot, but anyway, when the evening performances are on, people like to go outside with their drinkies and whatever and sit on the seats, such like in the intervals. So thanks for that, because that was something that we were talking about. So we have to vote on both of these applications separately. The first one is because it is in the conservation area. Listed building. So LA 222413, the proposer to accept the officer's recommendation for approval has been put forward by Angie Fitch-Tillett and seconded by John Toy. So can we have the names, please, Lauren?
Councillor Brown,
For.
Councillor Blathwaite, Councillor Fisher,
For.
Councillor Fitch-Tillett, for Councillor Grove-Jones, for Councillor Heinrich,
For.
Councillor Holiday, Councillor Lloyd, Councillor Mancini Boyle, Councillor Pearce, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Toy,
For.
Councillor Varley, and Councillor Withington.
For.
That is unanimous, 14 votes for.
Thank you. So that is passed. We'll now go to the main application, which is PF 222332, which concerns the renovations of the cafe and toilets, etc., and the increasing size of office and store and the new accessible toilet. I must say, I'm with you, Liz. It's so nice to know that the toilets are going from 4 for the women's to 6. So we now have to go for a vote for this. Can we have the names again, please, Lauren? Oh, this is proposed again, sorry. This is proposed again by Angie Fitch-Tillett and seconded by John Toy.
Councillor Brown,
For.
Councillor Blathwaite, Councillor Fisher,
For.
Councillor Fitch-Tillett, for Councillor Grove-Jones,
For.
Councillor Heinrich,
For.
Councillor Holiday, Councillor Lloyd, Councillor Mancini Boyle, Councillor Pearce, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Toy,
For.
Councillor Varley, and Councillor Withington. For. That is unanimous, 14 votes for.
Thank you very much, members. That concludes the agenda items, and thank you, Russell. Right. Good, let's hope we get that all done. I mean, 6 weeks is not a very long time, is it? I said 6 weeks is not a very long time. That is the end of the meeting, so we have switched off